Before we proceed with the agenda, I just wanted to remind, I know the council knows this and staff, but for those others who are in here or watching at home, that as Mayor Pro Tem, I still retain the right to vote as councilman for Ward 1, but I do not hold the vote that the mayor has to break a tie, which this evening probably won't be a problem. So can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgwad.
Here.
Councilmember Barber, absent. Councilmember Berenson.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Circo.
Present.
Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Councilmember Jacobson.
Present.
Councilmember Townsend.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow, absent.
Okay, and just for the record, Councilman Barber did let us know that he would be absent this evening. So, would you please stand with me and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, Chief, would you join me up here at the podium? Okay, well, we have a proclamation for, signed by Mayor Turnbow, and it reads this way. Can you hear me okay? Whereas by swearing an oath to uphold the law and protect all citizens, police officers selflessly put themselves in harm's way each day and seek to mitigate the threat in dangerous situations while others seek refuge. And whereas during a number of national crises in the past year, officers recognized and accepted their critical role in protecting communities at increased personal risk to themselves. And whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a law designating May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which that day falls as National Police Week, honoring law enforcement officers throughout our country who perform dangerous and often thankless duties. And whereas during this time we must be especially mindful to pay tribute to officers who have given their lives and made the ultimate sacrifice in the performance of those duties, as 119 officers have already done in 2021, 119 officers, excuse me, in 2021, and whereas the outstanding officers of the Raymore Police Department are committed through oath and personal fidelity to provide dedicated service and protection for our community, and whereas it is both important and proper that the citizens of Raymore recognize the tremendous duty and responsibility borne by our police officers, not just during this special week, but all throughout the year. Now, therefore, I, Christopher P. Turnbow, Mayor of the City of Raymore, Missouri, do hereby proclaim the week of May 9th through the 15th, 2021 as National Police Week in the City of Raymore to honor the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Raymore to be affixed this 10th day of May, 2021. Christopher P. Turnbow, Mayor. Chief, you're welcome.
Thanks, Bud. Thanks, Sergeant. Sergeant.
Okay, so we have no personal appearances. So for staff reports, Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Carteret to make a staff report for Development Services.
Thank you, sir. A couple of items this evening. First, I think as we all see, as we drive through the community, a very, very active spring building season in Raymore, a lot of activity. Just a couple of numbers. We currently have 171 single-family homes under construction, various stages. very active ahead of where we were last year. So that's always a good sign that we are looking strong for the fiscal year numbers. Our miscellaneous permits are up as well. So a lot of people just doing home improvement projects, whether it's a pool, a fence, re-roof of the homes. We have a lot of those. Our bigger projects active, of course, Lost at Fox Ridge. So every building under construction at different phases. They're getting close to finishing the first pod of 3 buildings in the clubhouse. They'll open up in phases as they move along. Probably during the month of June, we'll finish up the first units there. And then the townhomes down at the venue, they're doing their site work, so they'll be starting construction on those buildings shortly. We have the Raymore Commerce Center. Their first building is almost complete. They actually started doing landscaping today at that facility. They have their pad site ready for their second building, which is actually the one that's going to be to the south of the development. So the south end of Dean Avenue is their larger building. They intend to pull that permit hopefully soon. We have the Community America Credit Union, and of course Heartland Dental, both fully under construction as well. And we have the former Steak and Shake. They've got a permit to do the renovations for that facility, renovations into the new dispensary within the community. As far as upcoming developments that are under review, May 18th Planning Commission. We have 2 developments, new developments coming forward. The first, the Prairie at Carroll Farms. This is on Dr. Carroll's property there. It kind of surrounds the Timber Creek Elementary School. They're off of Kurzweil side. It's a tract of land that's going to be a single-family development for 312 homes. It will contain a community neighborhood park, about 12 acres right there. At the north, with a pond, you see the pond is, they're actually going to fill that in and actually make it a level play field for parks use. That application would be a rezoning and preliminary plat at that meeting. Had a very good neighbor meeting recently where we had residents come out and be able to ask questions of the developer. That's being developed by Dr. Carroll, the landowner, and Randy Spalding. And then the Oak Ridge Farms third phase plat is coming forward. They're finishing up their last units in the second phase. Third phase has 58 lots. It's going to be a combination of single family, mostly single family. There will be 2 family units within, if you would, the middle of that third phase. That's being done by Sean Siebert. So the architecture and the feel of the Oak Ridge Farms that you see out there today will be carried on into the third phase. And then the next evening on May 19th at Centerview at 6:30, we have a good neighbor meeting for the Saddlebrook subdivision. This is a subdivision that's actually south of Brookside. It'd be the continuation of Brook Parkway. You recall several months ago, the developers went through the good neighbor process where they wanted to propose 2 family units. They have removed that aspect. This is a completely single-family development now. It's about 172 lots. And it'll be a little bit different design. They're going to do their villas on the south 2/3 of that development, and the north third would be similar to what you're seeing built now along Bristol and the Brookside 10 phase. So the same developers, but again have changed that over to completely single family. So look forward to that development moving forward. That would be also the ability to continue the trail. They installed the parking lot as a trailhead for the Brookside Trail. They'll actually continue that all the way from Bristol south to Humock Hill Road as part of this development. They would intend to start on the south side off of Humock and on the north side and kind of work, so they have 2 different products available and work their way to completion of Brook Parkway. So that's May 19th at Centerview, and that's currently what we have scheduled for Planning Commission. So I conclude staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Carteret. Any questions for Mr. Carteret?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman Townsend.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carteret. Excellent report. I'm just curious, how many times has the Saddlebrook property come before us as far as the property and the options they wanted to put in place?
This is actually, this would be the 3rd time. Initially, they had approval for what was called Brookside South, all single family at that time. That dates back to 2006 timeframe. Of course, that never developed. They came forward, I believe 2019 with the proposal for the 2 family. and now they're going back, a slightly modified design of what they initially intended to build there.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Carteret.
Thank you, Mr. Carteret. I would ask Chief Zimmerman to make a report for the police department.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, and thank you, Councilman Jacobson, for making the presentation of the proclamation in honor of Police Week. Just a few quick comments as Captain Wilson is going to be handing out our challenge coin for the police department in honor of Police Week. We have presented these to all of our officers, and because of the absolute unflagging support of the council, we felt like you were part of this team as well, and so we wanted to present a coin in honor of Police Week for all of you all as well. As the proclamation said, our officers do a great job every single day. They show up for work and they handle their calls and they are responsive to our community in more ways than we could ever say in any proclamation. But it's important to say that I feel like we have an outstanding police department, and any way that we can honor them and the way that you all support them is very, very important to them, because obviously not every call is a good call, and not every day is a good day. But in a community like ours, where you show that support each and every day, it's important, especially during times like these where police officers have come under fire all throughout our nation. So thank you all very much, and thank you for making us feel as special as you do.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions or comments for the Chief? I would like to say, Chief, that I am a great admirer of you and your team. They really do an outstanding job. We've seen on the surveys where we get rated, you know, top on safety here, and certainly you guys are a key component of that. So thank you, and it's a well-deserved proclamation for you. Mr. Fearborn?
Thank you, Chief. Reminder to the council, we do have a work session next week. Currently, there are 2 items on the agenda for the work session. As the council is aware, and now the general public will be aware, the Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Jacobson, has announced that he will be resigning effective at midnight on May 31st. So we will be losing a valuable servant to the city of Raymore over many, many years. We will be discussing with the council and seeking your direction on how to proceed with that vacancy. Great levels of detail, no matter what the council is determining they're going to do going forward. The second item that we'll be talking with the council about is a change to the utility bill billing dates. Just want to make you aware of some things that are going to be in place there before we do that, in case you get some calls from the public. That concludes staff reports this evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn. We have no committee reports, so I would entertain a motion to dispose of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Townsend.
I move that we approve consent agenda item A, April 26th, City Council meeting minutes for April 26, 2021.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Councilman Holman. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Yes, unanimous. Okay. So moving on to, we will now move on to unfinished business. We have the second reading of Bill 3616, please.
The second reading of Bill 3616 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Terry Snelling Construction, Inc. for the 2021 curb replacement project, City Project Number 21-375-201, in the amount of $588,765, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of Bill 3616.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3616, award of contract 2021 curb project.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Holman. We have a motion and a second. We have any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Unanimous. Can we have the second reading of Bill 3618, please?
The second reading of Bill 3618 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Terry Snelling Construction, Inc. for the Centerview Phase 2 project, city project number 21-372-201, in the amount of $487,000, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of Bill 3618.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Townsend,
I move that we approve Bill 3618, award of contract Centerview Phase 2.
thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Holman. We have a motion and a second. We have any further discussion? No? All in favor of Bill 3618? 7-0. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to new business. Can we have the first reading of Bill 3617, please?
The second reading of Bill 3617 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with J.M. Fahey Construction Company for the 2021 Street Preservation Project, city project number 21-376-201, in the amount of $859,320.75, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within the established budget constraints.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Fearborn, do we have a staff report on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I would point out, erroneously called out as second reading. This is actually first reading of this particular agenda item. And I would ask Mr. Krass to make staff report for this item.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. At a recent work session, we presented the recommendations for the fiscal year 2021 Street Preservation Program. Based on that, we then proceeded with the preparations of plans and specifications and advertised the project for bid, and do recommend award to J.M. Fahey Construction Company. That concludes my staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Krass. Any questions of Mr. Krass? Okay. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3617.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Townsend.
move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3617, award of contract 2021 Street Preservation.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Councilman Holman. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? 7-0. Thank you. Can we have the first reading of Bill 3619, please?
The first reading of Bill 3619 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, establishing an intergovernmental agreement with the Raymore Peculiar School District to provide school resource officer services for schools in Raymore and the East Middle School.
Thank you. Mr. Fearborn, we have a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I would ask Chief Zimmerman to make a staff report on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn. As you see in the agenda item memo, we actually entered into this agreement originally in July of 2016 and have enjoyed an outstanding relationship with the school district since the inception of the program in that year. So this is our 5th year in partnership with the school district. We've changed school resource officers a number of times over the years due to promotions and other things, but continue to have that outstanding relationship with the school district, and are entering once again into that for the upcoming school year, beginning in June of this year and lasting through 2022.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions, Chief? Councilman Berenson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Chief, is it too early for us to publicly announce who the SRO is going to be for this coming year?
Oh, no, not at all. You want me to announce it right now?
That'd be great.
I'd be happy to do that. It's Officer Rebecca Burns. She just took the position over when she came back from maternity leave, as we promoted Lance Goddard into a detective position. So as those officers have advanced in their careers into promotion and transfer, she has moved into that position now.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Please give her congratulations on our behalf, if we may, and thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you. Any further questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3619.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yeah, Councilman Townsend.
I move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3619, agreement with Raymore Peculiar School District for SRO services.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second the motion,
Thank
sir.
you, Councilman Townsend. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of Bill 3619? 7-0. Thank you. Can we have the first reading of Bill 3620, please?
The first reading of Bill 3620 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, approving the East Brook at Creekmore Second Plat, located in Section 4, Township 46 North, Range 32 West, Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. We have a staff report, Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Carteret to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Ernie Deaton, who represents the Cooper Land Development Company, is requesting approval of the East Brook at Creekmore second final plat. This is a 41-lot single-family development. It's proposed along Hampstead Drive, west of North Madison Street. This is the second phase of the East Brook subdivision. If you recall, East Brook is a single-family subdivision, but it is a different style than the other lots within Creekmore. These are narrow lots for slightly smaller homes than you see in the other phases of Creekmore. There's currently 18 homes, so more than half of those lots are already under construction in the first phase. With the success they're seeing, they wanted to move forward with a larger second phase. So that concludes staff report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carteret. Any questions of Mr. Carteret? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3620.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Townsend.
I move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3620, East Brook at Creekmore second final plat.
Thank you, sir. I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Holman. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of Bill 3620? 7-0. Thank you. Can we have the first reading of Bill 3621, please?
The first reading of Bill 3621 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, approving the venue of the Good Ranch final plat, located in Section 20, Township 46 North, Range 32 West, Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. We have a staff report, Mr. Carteret and Mr. Fearborn. Sorry. I'm jumping the gun there.
Right over to him, sir.
Thank you, sir. Jake Lovelace, who represents the Venue Land Partners, LLC, is requesting approval of the final plat for the venue of the Good Ranch. This is a 6-lot residential subdivision containing the 204 townhome units within that development, and this is located on the east side of Dean Avenue, north of North Cass Parkway. As I mentioned earlier, they have started work on the infrastructural installation. In multiple family developments such as this and the lofts, they are able to start construction on the buildings before we accept the improvements. So you may see some building construction commencing before the roads are actually completed, but of course, no buildings can be occupied until the City Council accepts all of the infrastructure. So that concludes staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Carteret. Any questions for Mr. Carteret? Councilman Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Cartwright, this is probably germane language that's been in previous development agreements that I just didn't catch before. But in looking at this particular on page 4 of that development agreement under paragraph 2, where it speaks to the improvements, the subdivider shall be responsible for the maintenance of the improvements for a period of 2 years after acceptance. So I'm assuming these improvements are specific to those in the previous paragraphs and the required improvements, the street signs, traffic signals, I believe is what's articulated in there. And that 2-year term is not related to the other things under additional requirements, such as having to have a maintenance agreement, sidewalks and things like that. Am I correct in reading that?
You're correct in the anything that's classified as a public improvement is what is covered for that 2-year, that they're responsible for the 2-year maintenance period. So that would be the streets, curbs, that would be the public sidewalk, as well as the infrastructure, sewer, the sanitary sewer, as well as the signs that you had identified. Anything that we classify in that realm of public improvements, they have to maintain for that 2-year period.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, sir.
Councilman Holman.
A question, sir, that would dovetail off Councilmember Townsend's comments. So for 2 years, would these people then plow the snow, fill potholes as well?
wouldn't plow the streets, but they would, if something happened with the surface, the pavement surface, of that nature, that would be their responsibility.
I just saw Mr. Krass's smile droop. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3621.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Townsend?
I move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3621, the venue of Good Ranch final plat.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Council Holman. We have a motion and a second to dispose of this item. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? 7-0. Okay. That concludes new business. We now move into public comments. Anybody in the room who wants to come up, any member of the audience wants to come up and speak, please identify yourself for the record and keep your comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Okay, seeing none, we will now move on to Mayor Council communication. And Councilman Burke, let's begin with you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I had to go first last time. That's all right. Everybody complains about going last. I think it's pretty easy to put all my comments into recognizing the police force this week, not just this week, but every week. I've never felt unsafe in this community. I've been here for, I think, 22 years, and I've never felt like that I was in danger. Even spending a night guarding a fireworks stand for the Scouts a few years ago. And but the other thing I wanted to say is the SRO program is so important. If you think about how many people that later on become adults in our community, their first interaction, the first police officer that they knew them by their name, they knew stuff about them, some of their interests, are these SROs. And that's the foundation of community policing. So I really want to thank that program for continuing. And it's good that we have cooperation with all the other communities around us as well. But thank you to the entire police force. Thank you.
Councilman Circo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Well, I'm kind of pretty short and brief. Of course, thank you to our new SRO officer. Congratulations to her. I appreciate all that because our schools need the best they can get with those children on safety. And I want to take thanks to the chief and all your leaders, all the way down to the very last officer hired and everyone in our PD. It's National Police Week, and you guys have done a great job. You don't get recognition, and when you watch the news, basically all you hear is about bad things and smaller, limited amount of states and cities. You don't hear about most of the country, which is pretty good. And people love their officers, and the cities are well taken care of throughout the country. So you don't hear that, but it's there, and we know it is. But our city, we take some special pride in. I always make sure when I see officers, I shake their hand, make sure I get their name. My retention is not what it used to be, but I try my hardest. But, it's just good to know they're there. I wave at them every time I see them because I tell people to do the same. I still promote when this COVID is over with that everyone get out and do a ride-along. I did it. I'm going to do another one. It's very interesting, educational. I was very educational to do a ride-along with the officer and learn the techniques, the education, and what they go through on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, and how well trained they are, continuously well trained. If anything gets there, anything pops up, our chief makes sure that all of our police officers and their commanders on down educate, go to these classes, whether it be FBI or local, and we appreciate that. That's why they're so well and they're so well trained and so respected. Thank you for them. Tell them great thank you to all of our officers in Raymore. It's a great city to have because we know we're very, very safe. Thank you.
Councilman Townsend?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Also, I'd like to extend my congratulations to the Raymore Police Department as well as our new SRO. I don't know, is this the first time we've had a female police officer as the SRO?
Yes, sir.
That should be pretty cool for our young girls at the schools to really see our police force and see a female police officer, a woman police officer on the force so they can ask questions and kind of get that different perspective and opportunities to see they too can probably at some point in if they so choose, to serve in that capacity, serve their community. And I also would like to show my appreciation for the challenge coin. I appreciate that as a collector of coins, and maybe it's just a side effect of being a military veteran. But I do appreciate them because they do hold some value as nothing more than also providing us a challenge to ourselves. And I appreciate the challenge that's on these coins, which is to be respectful, progressive, and dedicated. And that speaks highly of our police force, as has been shown by our citizens in the survey that our council members have said, and is shown in our police force every day. So I appreciate that, and I look forward to it. And so you've challenged me to continue to uphold these same ethos that our police force also has. So again, thank you to our force for all they do and the day-to-day things that they deal with within the community, but still find ways to uphold these three tenets of our police force. So again, thank you to Chief and all those who are in the room or listening that provides the support to them as well. So again, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Berenson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Obviously can't say enough about our police department. Fantastic job they do. Congratulations. I know the SRO has been there for a while. I knew her as Officer Badgett, so I apologize. I didn't recognize the name. She must have gotten married since I've seen her last. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, fantastic job tonight. Seamless. So I'm sorry to see you leaving us for a job change. I will encourage the mayor to take all the time off necessary. Let's get our money's worth out of Dale for the rest of the month. But great job tonight. Lastly, happy to see the new development coming in town as far as the residential neighborhoods. By my count, roughly 484 new homes we're looking at coming very soon. So, I know this time last year we were concerned that we didn't have enough lots available and permits were down. So good to see that pendulum swing in the other direction, and we'll look forward to seeing these be developed soon. That's all I have tonight, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir. Thanks for those kind words. Councilwoman Abdelagwad?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I'll be brief. I just want to thank the mayor and council members and staff for recognizing our police officers with that proclamation. National Police Week is very important, and the work that they do every day is important, but I won't go through all that everyone said again. Lastly, I would just like to encourage anyone in the community, if and when you see an officer, especially this week, take a minute and thank them for their work. Tell them they're doing a great job. If you have children, if you're in the schools, we just did that for the teachers a little while ago. This week, let's put that same focus on our officers and make sure they feel appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Holman?
Thank you, sir. A couple of things. Thank you, sir, for your service. Thank you for serving in the short term as Mayor Pro Tem. I think you hold a singular distinction which should be noted. Everyone up here is a multi-term servant of the City Council. You, sir, are a divided term. You served a term before, was not in service for a while, and then came back to us. And I know you saw some rough times in the past, and you've seen the great growth and changes of the city and the professional light speed improvement of how the staff handles things nowadays. And so thank you. We are going to miss you, certainly. Appreciate that. Great job tonight, by the way. Number two, community development. So I have been predicting this since my days on planning and zoning, and I said there would be another tremendous resurgence, and I believe that we're there if the housing market holds any of its current heat, and if builders can find lumber. I would not be surprised at all to see us break our housing permit records this year. That remains to be seen with what's left of the current year. But just rough numbers tracking, we've been outdistancing our closest neighbor to the west by about 1,500 residents per year in just growth, whether that's a single-family unit or a rental property or whatever, and I think that's going to get a little closer. We're awaiting the numbers from the U.S. Census, but we know that we're going to soon overtake them as the largest city in Cass County. It kind of slowed down. We hit a little bit of the skid, as did everybody, with the housing downturn of 08, 07, but it's coming back with a roar right now. So if we can iron out some of those kinks in the supply chain, I think it's really going to go off the charts. And the last thing I have is what everybody's talked about with police appreciation. So I would ask you to consider this. I've mentioned this before as well, but and don't take offense, but the fact that we support the police, the fact that we think that they're fantastic, we know they're top-notch in how they're run, how they're managed, and how they handle themselves is almost like being drafted the last man in the NFL draft, being Mr. Irrelevant. Because the greater fact is that our citizens rank them number one every time in our survey. Public safety is the number one reason people locate and stay here in Raymore. That tells you how good, how important our police department is, and how much people respect them and need them and want us to support them. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Holman. I will simply dovetail off what everybody's saying about the police, Chief. You know how I feel about you, and I also thank you very much for this challenge coin. That is really awesome. It's a good-looking coin, too. I was glad some of your officers could be here this evening as well. I sure appreciate them coming up so we could get them on camera. Yeah, the city, as Councilman Holman said, the city is headed for great things, and I'll kind of dovetail a little bit since Mr. Fearborn has mentioned my resignation. It has actually caused the whole decision for me to leave to be extremely emotional. I really like working here. I love the city. I just love the city. I've been here 25 years. And it's one of the greatest communities. And I was just talking with one of my neighbors today about how he's never lived anywhere before as nice as this place is. And in fact, said it was kind of like living on the streets in the military, you know, where everybody's out in the driveways and talking and that sort of thing, which I agree. I've had that opportunity as well. I had a chance, or I was given a chance, to move back to my other hometown. Raymore will always be hometown to me, but this is where I started. And with family and friends to work at a drug and alcohol rehab center. It's called Valley Hope, and it's a nonprofit. I've kind of been getting into nonprofits lately with Hero Fund USA and that sort of thing, and I rather enjoy helping the community. It's still an opportunity to help the community. However, it's been a tough decision. I don't really know how else to say that. I want you to know though that the council and the mayor, you have all been very supportive, and I really thank you for that, because I wanted to tell you, as as I called and told you, but every time I picked it up, it's like I'm going to be letting these people down. I'm going to be telling them I can't be here for them anymore, and I don't want it to be that way. And the same with the staff. This staff is outstanding. As Councilman Holman said, I was here in darker times, and I've seen, and light speed is the exact right word for that. This city, this staff, and the council and the mayor are not just a winning team. All of you are not just a winning team, you're a championship team. And my admiration and respect for each and every one of you runs deep, and I'm going to miss that. Sorry. So, yes, because of other factors involved as well, this is the right thing to do, but most of the time doesn't feel like it right now. And I've always told my kids growing up, with peer pressure and everything, you, of course, as a teacher, you know how that goes. I've always tried to tell my kids doing the right thing isn't very often the easiest thing to do. But there are some other factors involved with families, and my wife's family living that direction as well, that we will be moving out there. I will be available to anybody, whoever wants to call me for anything. If you just want to bounce something off or just want to call me. My phone number remains the same. On my resignation letter, I left my email on there as well. So I ask any of you to reach out at any time for anything. I'm here for you. It may not seem like it because I'm leaving. It doesn't seem like it to me. Like I said, I kind of feel, I won't go too deep into that. Anyway, so I'll stop it there. I don't want this to be a downer. It's been a great meeting. Thank you all for your support in this meeting as well. It doesn't go smooth without everybody here. So, and with that, I will declare the Raymore City Council regular meeting for Monday, May 10th. Yes, sir?
You'll need your motion to adjourn.
Oh, sir, you're right. Thank you. See, I still didn't get out of here without, that's two. I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we adjourn the regular city council meeting for May the 10th.
Thank you, Councilman Townsend. And a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councilman Holman. Now, I will declare the Raymore City Council regular meeting.
You need a vote, sir.
Oh. Yeah, maybe we'll stay here. Okay, all in favor? All right, thank you, 7-0. It was smooth, wasn't it? Now I declare the council meeting for Monday, May 10th,